Hi! So, just because you are married doesn't mean you automatically become intimate with your spouse. My name is Pamela Iwuta. So, on today's show, we're going to be talking about intimacy and what does intimacy mean. So, what is intimacy? According to a definition, it says intimacy is the familiarity and closeness between spouses within their relationship. It's not just spouses. Intimacy is a familiarity and closeness that people experience within their relationships. But for our discussion, we talk about how the woman can enjoy intimacy within her relationship. So our reference is going to be for people in a marital experience space. So what is intimacy? Another way to define intimacy is intimacy. I love that definition. It says, into me, see me, love me, connect with me, see my vulnerability, see my openness, see my closeness, see my sincerity in my communication, love me for me, connect with me, love me for who I am, accept me because this is who I am and all I have to offer. And let's take our relationship higher and closer to a different level. So do you have intimacy in your relationship? From all these definitions and all these things I have said, if you are to ask yourself, am I truly intimate with my spouse? And I want you to know that intimacy is not just a one-size-fits-all. Most times when we talk about intimacy, people think intimacy is all about sex. No, intimacy is not about sex. Intimacy has 5 different parts that I'm going to be talking about today. 1, intimacy has to do with emotional intimacy. 2, we have intellectual intimacy. 3, we have recreational intimacy. 4, we have spiritual intimacy. And the 5th one is just dancing in my head. What are the types of intimacy? There are 5 of them. The first one is emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy has to do with connecting to your spouse through your emotions, through events that you've experienced from your past, through different things. It could be things that when you think about them, it brings you joy, causes you pain or laughter. Emotional intimacy. So when you are able to share with your spouse and both of you are able to connect on that level, because he or she's able to receive what you're saying and put you in a space where it's not judgmental, no matter how bad or how horrible, nice, funny, interesting it is, they're able to connect with you, and so it thickens your bond with each other. Then I say sometimes that it's not every time or everything that you should share immediately. There could be a timing for your sharing of emotional intimacy, because out of all types of intimacies, emotional intimacy is the strongest. It has to do with your emotions, so it's a delicate part of you. And the next one is intellectual intimacy. This has to do with sharing your intellect with your spouse, where you can sit down and talk about different topics, from something serious to something mundane. Anything you can talk about, and know when you have that conversation, like I call it sweet nothingness, you're able to connect with your spouse in that kind of relation, in that kind of communication that you have with him. It strengthens your communication as well. It helps you to strengthen your communication. Then the next one is recreational intimacy. In recreational intimacy, we talk about having to play, enjoy the outdoor life, play activities that you share together as a family. You might not like play or games, like I don't do all the time. I'm getting better with it now. You might not like it, but because your spouse likes it, you're able to put down, as in not bring yourself forward like, oh, it's all about me, because it's never about one person in a relationship. So you drop that aspect of your life that says, I don't like games, but because your spouse likes it, and because you want to bond with your spouse, you are able to join him in that playful way so that you can connect with him. Because in playing, you are able to share things and events from your growing up days. Then the next one we talk about is spiritual intimacy. In spiritual intimacy, we talk about the spiritual atmosphere of your home, the spiritual atmosphere of your relationship, if there is any, or because not everyone feels like a spiritual person or enjoy that aspect of their life, as in appreciates that aspect of spiritual nature of their lives. So if both of you have that spiritual aspect of your life, you sit down and talk about spiritual things. What are those things that are important to you as an individual and as a couple? Do you have a goal and plan how you want to take your relationship to a whole new level? So that's what spiritual intimacy is all about. Then we talk about the sexual intimacy. This is one intimacy everybody thinks is a one-size-fits-all for all intimacies. No, sexual intimacy has to do with your ability to connect with each other, to be vulnerable with each other, and to understand how you're going to pleasure yourself as a couple. And so here you are able to connect with each other, because sometimes people are in a sexual relationship and they don't have intimacy. But in sexual relationship with your spouse, you are able to connect with yourselves and understand yourself. So these are all surface definitions. In other videos, we're going to go deeper and deeper into it. So let's talk about the pillars of intimacy. I term them pillars because they are the tools you need to have a good structure within your relationship with your spouse. And these pillars are the things you go to whenever you have a breakdown in your relationship. Whenever you feel there is a disconnect with your spouse, you think about these pillars or these tools that I call pillars. And there are 5 of them in numbers. The first one, we talk about communication. How effective is your communication with your spouse? Is your communication effective? Is it two-way? Is it one-way? Are you saying something and he's hearing another thing? Then we'll talk about the closeness. It has to do with how close you are emotionally with your spouse. Your openness. How open are you to new things? The way you relate with him or her from the things from your past. Then we talk about your connection. How are you able to connect with your spouse through emotional events that might have happened in your relationship or in your life now or before. How are you able to connect with your spouse? So we talk about communication, openness, connection, and closeness. Then vulnerability, the almighty vulnerability. Vulnerability has to do with, oh, I am physically, mentally, and emotionally naked and vulnerable with you. I am not afraid of what you're going to do with that information. So these are pillars, the structures that hold your relationship together, that forms your intimacy. So if you're having issues with your intimacy, I will call it your intimacy quotient, with how strong your intimacy is within your relationship, look at this structure, look at these pillars: communication, closeness, connection, openness, your communication. These are the things that will give you a solid support within the system. So that has been intimacy in a tiny nuggets. Subsequently, in other videos, I'm going to be dropping deeper issues on intimacy. Remember, the goal of every relationship is intimacy. And so until I come away again next week, Wednesday, dropping you more videos that goes deeper into this relationship, into what you want in your relationship. Enjoy, and don't forget, if you're here for the first time, to subscribe and click on the notification button so that anytime I drop my videos on Wednesdays, you are the first to know. So enjoy.